Right now on News 8, old scam, but with a new twist. How scammers are avoiding detection and why you should never trust what you see on your phone.
And let me put it very plainly. If we Republicans choose Donald Trump as our nominee, the prospects for a safe and prosperous future are greatly diminished.
So with Mitt, I just wanted to tell you that he came out, it was very nasty. I mean, I thought he was a better person than that.
A political knife fight, the sharp criticism from a former presidential candidate, and how it could now shake up the Republican convention.
Live from WQAD, News 8 at 5 starts now.
Good evening, I'm Denise Hanitka.
And I'm Jim Mertens. Thanks for joining us. More on Mitt Romney and Donald Trump in a moment. But there is a new twist on an old trick. Scammers pretending to call from utility companies or even the IRS saying you owe them money. But as News 8's Megan Noe now explains, they found a new way to make sure your caller ID is lying to you as well.
It's called caller ID spoofing, and just about anyone can do it.
It allows an individual to transmit a different caller ID other than the true number they're calling from.
Joe Alonji is president at Hughes Telephone and showed us just how simple spoofing can be.
You see where it says network calling number? You can change that to any number you want.
Using your phone system software or any number of free apps, simply change the presenting number.
Now we know I'm not calling from WQAD, but it certainly presents that out.
And just like that, a call from the Hughes home office shows up as a call from WQAD. Hughes says a growing number of telemarketers and scammers are using this same technology.
A lot of consumers are aware of an unknown or blocked call, and they purposely won't answer that call. But they feel more comfortable with answering a call if they see it coming from their home area. So we are seeing a very big increase in it.
And unfortunately, there's no real way to tell if you're being spoofed.
If you realize that this may be a potential telemarketing scam, to maybe tell them, I'm busy right now, but I would like to call you right back. Can I get your phone number and call you back? They'll typically give you a different phone number than what you see on your caller ID, and that's what you would report to the FCC.
And don't trust that your caller ID is always telling the truth. In Moline, Megan Noe, WQAD News 8.
Well, now that's an eye-opener. Geneseo police say they've already gotten one report of a scammer using the police department's number to make calls. And Mid-American Energy says calls are often spoofed to appear as if they're coming from them as well.
Burlington police are trying to figure out who shot and killed a 16-year-old and left his body in some bushes. Investigators say they found the boy around 11:30 last night with multiple gunshot wounds. Police say witnesses reported seeing two vehicles driving away from the area in the intersection of South 4th and Walnut Street. The Burlington School District let students out of school early and provided grief counselors to students.
A Moline construction project is ahead of schedule and could be finished in a few weeks. Our mild winter weather has allowed workers to replace the wall near the historic John Deere home quicker than expected. The wall along 12th Street had crumbled after years of neglect. The project was supposed to be finished June 1st, but now it could be wrapping up by the beginning of April.
Hundreds of jobs are on the line tonight after Swiss Colony says it will close one of its call centers. News 8's Jared Ransom is live in Clinton tonight with reaction to the announcement.
Yeah, Denise, it's business as usual for the SC Contact Center right behind me in Clinton, but in just about 7 months, this call center will be closing its doors for good. In a letter sent out from Swiss Colony to its employees today, it's detailing the closure and what will happen over the next few months. Now, some of the reasons given for this closure include challenges in recruiting other employees in Clinton and the growth of their home agent program. Now, there are about 309 part-time jobs and 7 full-time jobs affected by this. And in the company notice, they are also going to be working with employees to find jobs within the company, possibly even in 2 other affiliated businesses here in Clinton, DM Services and Colony Brands Distribution Center. Now, management and employees at the company aren't allowed to speak with us on camera, but some employees I did talk with today say they are disappointed with the news. Members of the city leadership and the chamber are also disappointed in the news, but they're encouraged by the fact that the company's going to try to work with these employees to try to put them in other positions in the company. Reporting live in Clinton, Jared Ransom, WQAD News 8.
Swiss Colony is based in Monroe, Wisconsin, and has 12 Midwest facilities, including in Clinton, Davenport, DeWitt, and Savannah, Illinois.
This winter is a record setter for Iowa. The state's climatologist says December, January, and February, wettest winter on record. The previous record happened in 1914 and 1915. It's also the 17th warmest winter on record. Record keeping in the state goes back more than a century. Well, for many parts of the Quad City area, this morning's snow already somewhat history.
James Zahara watching that for us in the first check of the forecast. Hi, James.
Hey, guys. Yeah, pretty much long gone. A lot of that had to do with the fact that the temperatures did make their way just above freezing in most of our hometowns, and still like that even as we speak across eastern Iowa and northwestern Illinois. A lot of low to mid 30s, even some upper 30s that we're noticing, like around Mount Pleasant, Burlington, even around Sterling Rock Falls, 36 degrees, Muscatine. In the Quad Cities, 37. That is the high so far. A lot of clouds out there, though. No rain or snow with these clouds. In fact, we plan on breaking up these clouds very slowly and hopefully give way to some sun. We'll tell you what type of impact that's going to have on our temperatures come tomorrow, coming up in just a few minutes. Jim?
Your voice, your vote coverage of the 2016 presidential election continues with a renewed war of words. The words are getting sharper. Former Republican presidential nominee Mitt Romney launched a verbal attack on Donald Trump.
Romney says Trump is playing the American public for suckers. The speech pointed directly at infighting happening within the Republican Party right now. Romney is hoping to make voters think twice and support any of the three other candidates in the race.
The President of the United States has long been the leader of the free world. The President and, yes, even the nominees of the country's great parties helped define America to billions of people around the world. All of them bear the responsibility of being an example for our children and our grandchildren. Think of Donald Trump's personal qualities: the bullying, the greed, the showing off, the misogyny, the absurd third-grade theatrics. Now imagine your children and your grandchildren acting the way he does. Would you welcome that? Haven't we seen before what happens when people in prominent positions fail the basic responsibility of honorable conduct? We have. And it always injures our families and our country.
The relationship between Romney and Trump wasn't always this contentious. 4 years ago, it was very different, in fact, when Romney was running for president.
Mitt is tough, he's smart, he's sharp. He's not going to allow bad things to continue to happen to this country that we all love. So, Governor Romney, go out and get him. You can do it.
Trump says that Romney begged him for that endorsement and called him a businessman who understands the economy and job creation. Trump today dismissed Romney's comments, calling him a failed candidate. The election drama may be forcing people to consider a move to Canada. Searches for how to move to Canada jumped 15% since Super Tuesday. People are threatening to relocate there if Donald Trump in fact becomes president. One place already welcoming Americans is Cape Breton Island in Nova Scotia. The tourism department there says they're getting so many calls, they now have 5 staffers answering the phones.
Student debaters are shaking their heads at bad language and personal attacks in the presidential debates. These youngsters from Assumption High School are preparing for a state competition. They know all about proper conduct during a presentation, but when they watch politicians go at it at each other, they say it doesn't impress them. They say it represents the shock of reality TV seeping into politics.
I think that not only reflects negatively on the candidate, but the campaign as a whole, and especially when you use profanity. I mean, people will see that and it's just a negative automatic turnoff.
I think it's like totally counterproductive to see like future presidents like talking bad about each other when we're supposed to be told like not to talk bad about each other.
Students say those presidential campaign attacks would violate anti-bullying policies in their schools.
A leader in the Hispanic community says voter turnout is stronger in this election than ever before because there's more on the line. Juan Polveda says he in fact was the keynote speaker for an event at Stony Creek Inn. He says that keeping Hispanic heritage alive is important, especially during an election. The Greater Quad Cities Hispanic Chamber of Commerce invited community members to learn about different ways they can make their voices heard.
Everyone agrees that you've got to take care of the border. No one disagrees with that, but the question is, should that be the focus? What about jobs? What about schools? What about those other issues that are really at the top of the list that we all share as Americans?
He says that the livelihood of the Hispanic community directly impacts the lives of Americans. As of 2014, 17% of the nation's total population is Hispanic, making them the largest ethnic or racial minority in the country.
A new poll shows Americans do not want to wait to replace Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia. The CNN poll found 58% of Americans say they would like to see President Barack Obama nominate someone to the Supreme Court. The Senate Judiciary Committee says it would not hold hearings on any nominee put forward by the president, nor would they vote on his choice. Dozens of Iowa voters want Senator Chuck Grassley to move forward with the nomination process. Today, this group delivered petitions and copies of the Constitution to his regional office in Davenport. The group says the move is to protest the Iowa senator's comments that he will not hold hearings on any Supreme Court nominee. Grassley is, of course, chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. The petitions are made up of electronic signatures from a recent online campaign. Astronaut Scott Kelly back in the United States after nearly a year on the International Space Station. And now Kelly faces weeks of testing to find out how months in space impacted his body and what it means for future space missions. Lauren Lister has our continuing coverage.
Astronaut Scott Kelly this morning back home in Houston by way of Kazakhstan and outer space.
It's just an unbelievable feeling to be back here on planet Earth, back in our great country.
Kelly spent 340 days aboard the space station, the first American to spend so much time in the cosmos. Now he's enjoying many firsts since returning. First hugs with his children and girlfriend.
I missed everyone very much.
Kelly tweeting his first call from the president. His first sunset in Norway, a different view from his last one in orbit. His first flowers, a contrast from the ones he raised in space. His first plunge in the pool.
That feels good.
After a year admiring bodies of water only from afar. During that time, he completed nearly 5,500 orbits. That's almost 144 million miles, equal to the moon and back 300 times. The mission, to test human endurance, key for potential future travel to Mars.
By going to Mars one day, it'll make things better here on Earth, so I'm happy to be a part of that.
And now, Scott will be compared to his identical twin, Mark. His next year-long mission, undergoing medical testing and providing data here on Earth. But first,
I brought you some beer and apple pie. Nothing's more American than that.
On Twitter, President Obama told Kelly he hopes gravity isn't a drag. Even if it is, NASA's saying the spine stretches in space, so Kelly likely came back 2 inches taller. Lauren Lister, ABC News, Los Angeles.
I should go into space. That would really help.
That would really help me.
I'm 4'1". Still ahead, adding to the tradition.
Why this year's Iditarod is already off to a rough start before the teams even line up.
You're 4'1"?
On a good day, on tiptoes.
Okay.
Don't mock me. I'm sensitive.
Just curious. Consider a lighter jacket in the days ahead. I'll explain why coming up the break here on News 8 at 5.
You are watching WQAD News 8 at 5 with Jim Mertens and Denise Hanitka.